Here we have a Theater of Magic MPU along with its driver board, and I am in switch test right now. And if I test column 1, that's working perfectly, but column 2 is no joy. So I have my logic probe out, and I'm going to probe the column pins. There's column 1. Column 2 is not strobing. Now, those come directly from this ULN 2803, and this is column 1 again. And here's column 2. So you would suspect this ULN 2803 because it's typically the chip that gets blown, but let's check to see if the column inputs are coming in correctly. So there's column 1. And here's column 2, so that is not strobing. So a quick check of the schematics indicate that 4514 at U23, pin 11 is column 1 and pin 9 is column 2. So here is that big devil, and here's pin 11. No, I'm sorry, that was 12. Here's 11. And here is 9. So column 9, I'm sorry, pin 9, which is column 2, is not strobing. Now this is a 4 to 16 decoder, so we can make sure that the signal's getting to all 4 of the input pins, and those were 2 of them, and here are the other 2. So the signal is getting to this chip, but it's not pulsing the outputs correctly. So back to the bench to replace this chip. And we are back with this Theater of Magic MPU, and I have cleanly removed the 74HC4514 that was in the board, and I have installed a socket and installed a NOS part, and we can go through the switch matrix. And this is the column that was not working, clearly working now. And I'll go across the rest of the diagonal to show all of the switches working. So all the switches are working on the MPU. Let's test the rest of the functions of the solenoid driver board. And let me get this advancing. I've already tested this with my WPC DMD test ROM, and it is working perfectly. But I like to let the clients know that these things are working as they should. There's all the solenoid circuits. I'm going to do general illumination. Here you can see that MPU, or the power driver board, is delivering 4.94 volts in the 5 volt circuit. That's really 499, these are nice Chinese voltmeters that I get off of eBay. They're nice, except they're not that accurate, and that's kind of what you'd expect. The unregulated 12 is at 14.5, the regulated 12 is at 12.0, and then your coil and flash lamp voltage are correct also. Let's test the lamps and the flashers at the same time. So you see these are not firing now because in Theater of Magic they're repurposed as coil circuits, and you can see all the lamp matrix is functioning. This power driver board was a bit of a mess. It had some of the similar problems as the MPU, and here's one of the connectors I took off of the bottom of the MPU, and at first I thought that was corrosion, and it is some kind of corrosion, but I'm really not sure. This thing almost seems like it was in a beach house or an oceanside house or something like that. I replaced all 6 connectors on the bottom of the MPU. I always replace J210, and I did in this case. But on the driver board, I usually replace the 12 volt input, the 5 volt and 12 volt output, general illumination in, GI out and out, and this is the transformer secondary for the 5 volts and transformer secondary for other voltages, and the ground. However, on this board, there are a number of other connectors that were so corroded that I thought it was a good idea to replace them. J124 and this one next to it. And then the lamp column connector was really corroded too. So I checked out the manual for Theater of Magic, and any connector that's used on Theater of Magic, I have either replaced or inspected the connector to make sure that it was not corroded like some of these other ones that you've seen. Also on the driver board, replaced C2. It had not begun to leak yet, but they do. They almost always do. Replace C4, replace C5, and rarely I see this, but BR2 was actually failed on this board. It had 2 open legs on the integrated 4 diode system inside there, so I replaced BR2. I replaced BR1 since I was in there already also, and I added a blocking diode to the bottom of R224, which prevents you from blowing up C11 if you put connectors on incorrectly. And I think that's it. So this power driver board and this Theater and the MPU board for Theater of Magic are now good to go back to wherever they came from. I think maybe it's it's the Philippines. That's right. These are from the Philippines. So thank you so much for muling these things all the way over from the Philippines to the U.S. And interesting to see Theater of Magic played somewhere in the Philippines.